All right, what is going on, everybody? Now I know people on my channel, probably hardly anyone on here owns synthesizers and keyboard workstations. But if there is anybody that comes on my channel that happens to own a Roland Fantom '06 synthesizer, now, I know that I don't think there is any way to do this or there's any workaround because I have dove into this thing more than what anybody would probably dive into it. And I don't know for the life of me what in the hell Roland was thinking when they made this keyboard. When you go to save a drum kit and you go to write they call it a scene instead of a pattern. Why not just call it a pattern? And when you press save, it saves the pattern, it saves the sounds, and it saves the sound effects that you put on the sounds. This does not do that. You have to save every single sound, every single track. You have to save whatever effects or whatever manipulation or how you messed with the filter or the envelopes. You have to save that to an initial tone. You have to save it to a destination for it to be in the thing. Now with the Roland JDXI, all I got to do is press right, shift right, and save. Yes, and it's saved to the pattern. It saves the sound effects, it saves the drums. I just don't know for the life of me what they were thinking when they made this thing. I just don't know what they were thinking. And then when you save a drum kit, now the synthesizers and the bass sounds and stuff like that, there's a lot of initial places you can save it, but to me it's so wrong. I don't know what they were thinking when they did this scene and this tone thing. I don't know what they were doing when they did this. But when you save a drum kit, they only give you, there's like 85 things to save into. So what happens when those 85 spots are filled up? Then you have to start overwriting other ones. And then when you overwrite it, it's not going to be the same for another scene or pattern. I call it a pattern. I'm used to calling it a pattern because that's what it always been called, was a pattern. Do you want to save the pattern? And that would save the sounds, and it would save the sound effects, and it would save the attack, the decay, the sustain. It would save everything. It would save the envelopes. It would save the delay, the reverb, the chorus, all that. But now they give you this thing when you press it. Well, you get 89. You get 89 spots to save the drum kits that you're going to save. And there's way more spots than that on the synthesizer, but I already filled all them up. I've already filled all the spots up. Now I'm using the user spots. But yeah, they give you more room for the synthesizers, but it makes no sense why they would do this. To me, they failed big time to me. And that's why I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I am very confused with this thing. It's a very weird, it's a very strange synthesizer. Just let me tell you that. I have never owned something this strange and weird. The sounds that are really good are good, but then the sounds that ain't good, they're not good. There's sounds that I would never use myself. But I'm telling you, the Roland JDXI is a $500 synth, and I got this thing back in 2017, and I have not found anything like it since. It is something that is so unique that I don't think it's fun, it's easy. I can make patterns on there so quick, but the thing is, it only has 160 some sounds on it. This thing has like almost 3,000 sounds, but I would rather use that. I would rather use the JDXI that has 100 some sounds than this thing, because it's just the workflow isn't bad. It's just the saving process is stupid. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And then on the JDXI, they have the delay, the reverb, they have all the effects on the front panel. In this, you got to go in the menu to get to the delay and all that stuff, and you have to use that as an insert effect. There is no delay on the front. There's reverb and chorus, and this is what is on the Roland Fantom, the Fantom 6, the FA06. This is the same thing. They got the chorus and the reverb on the front, but they don't have delay. Why would you not have delay? Delay and reverb are the most used things. Reverb, delay, and then after that, I would say comes chorus, flanger, and whatever else you want to put there. But first, it's reverb and delay, or compression. Compression should be on. That's another one. It should be reverb, delay, compression, and chorus. Those are the four things that should be on the front panel for you to get right at. But they're not on here. It just blows my mind. Like, I didn't start realizing this stuff too much until a little while ago, how inconvenient this would be for me as a standalone producer, because I want to go standalone. I don't want to have to use a computer at all. I want to make stuff on standalone gear and then take that and maybe put it onto a DAW and finish it up so I can export it or do whatever I do, all the extra things. But the only thing, see, it's a mixed bag of things here. The MPC-1 is excellent with drum kits and making sequences and patterns. You can go in real easy and you can change whatever. You can change the sounds. You can do whatever you need to do on this thing. The workflow is perfect on this. Maybe not so much for uh, saving extra sequences and doing that whole process. Yeah, that takes time. On here, on the Roland Fantom '06, it's not hard making patterns and stuff, but it's saving them and it's getting to the sound effects that's a pain in the ass. And on the Roland JDXI, it's limited, but it's so easy. It's fun. It's right there for you, but it's limited. You only get four measures. You only get 1/12, 1/16, 1 and 1/32. You can only have 1/12 measure, 1/16, and 1/32 measures. Sometimes people are not going to want to use that. And then when you have to use a 1/12 speed, you have to speed it up two times the tempo to get it to where you want to go. When you want to have those off measured beats that you make. But I don't quantize anything anyway when I'm on the MPC or the Roland Fantom '06. But the thing is, it's like, if they would have implemented, if they would have put the reverb, the delay, and all that on the front panel, and I would have been able to just press save pattern and save the pattern without having to save it into a user bank or a initial tone, then it wouldn't be a big deal. I wouldn't care. I could look past that. But that is something, it makes no sense, because if I would start saving them, I'm going to run out of space in a moment's time, because how I go from one thing to the next, and when I have to save it, it's going to fill the spots up. So then what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to transfer all of it into the computer or into the DAW, and I'm going to have to go through all that. I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to save the patterns on here, and then when I don't want them and I need more space, I can take the pattern and put it on there. But it just, it doesn't make sense, and that's why I really hate to do it, but I think I need to take this thing back because I don't know how they charge you or whatever, but it's just, I don't think it's going to work for my workflow. And it's very strange because the sounds that sound really good are really good. But then the sounds that are not good, they're just not good. It's like, I don't know, the sound selection was just not, to me, not a good sound selection for this thing. It's just, it's a very weird and strange synthesizer. It's very, very strange. It has, in some spots it is great and it's powerful and it actually does has it has a nice workflow. But when you want to apply sound effects and you want to save stuff, it's just not there. It's completely, Roland, you dropped the ball with this. You should have just stayed with saving patterns. Why would they add this scene and tone thing? Put the scene and the tones together. Just have pattern, save pattern, press pattern and save pattern. Yes, and everything saved onto that thing along with all the tracks on there. And it just, it's just really confusing when you have something that you're like, okay, yeah, it's not bad, but then when you can't do that, it's like, I don't know. And it's like all these things, they all have something that is like a deal breaker for me. The MPC one is amazing, but the thing is that there's one thing. The biggest thing missing is the synthesizer and orchestral sounds that come with it. It's lacking. It's lacking in that area. The drum kits are fine. The workflow is fine. Everything is fine except for the fact that there are not the sounds, that the plugins that come with it are just not. Yes, there's also sounds that can be used. Don't get me wrong. There's sounds that you can use. You can make, quote, professional quality music, but overall, there isn't a plugin that I can say, damn, that is a plugin that I can use over and over. Like the bells and stuff like that, they're just not there. They're lacking something. There's just something that's not there. But then the bells on here are really good and amazing, but yet when you want to go to save it and put sound effects on it, it's a jumbled mess. It's a jumbled mess. And how my mind is, I like being organized. I like knowing what I'm doing and all that, and having stuff on the front panel too. The Phantom '06 does not have a lot of stuff on the front panel. You have to go into the menu to get deep into the effects and all that, and I don't mind having to, when I want to get deep into it, to do that. But when you want to just apply a simple delay or some reverb or a chorus or whatever, or you want to save that, then you have to save the tone to an initial pattern, and you got to make sure you're not overwriting it over top of anything, because if you do, then when you go to another pattern that you made, another scene that you made, you're going to be overwriting that scene with another thing. It's going to, if you were messing with the sound effects or the resonance or the filters, you're going to erase all of that because it's going to overwrite it, if that's making sense. But what Roland should have done, if they were smart and if there was more people communicating with them, they should have made another keyboard like the Roland JDXI. They should have made a Roland JDXI 2 with no quantize, more effects, more sounds, and they should have made it a little bigger and they should have made maybe, I don't know, maybe a 49 key, and then put all of the stuff that was on the front, leave it on the front, and add a little more, and they would have, it would have been just a totally, it would have been absolutely a workhorse if they would have did that. If they would have provided like 1,500 sounds that were decent sounds, okay sounds, instead of just giving you 3,000 or close to 3,000, like they just throw you all these extra sounds that they don't really sound that great to me. They're just like, oh well, here we're just gonna say there's 3,000 sounds, but then when you go in them, you're only see it's like one out of every 15 or 20 sounds are usable to me, in my opinion, just for me. So with this, what I'm saying is, don't get me wrong. I love Roland. Their drum kits. I will always be using their drum kits. Their 808 kit, 909, their CR78 kits, Latino kits, the EDM kits. I will always use those kits. But I think that I am done in the area of their sounds and the way that they're implementing things now. I don't want any of their new stuff anymore, because it's not this whole scene and tone, saving it and doing all that stuff. It's just, it's wrong. They messed up. They need to go back to the old way, the original way. Leave it the original way, but yet implement new sounds, new sound effects. You see, don't change anything. There was no need to change anything. But the thing is, what I'm saying here is, the Roland Phantom '06, they dropped the ball with this whole scene tone thing, saving and not having the delay and stuff on the front, the compression and delay on the front. If they would have had that stuff on there, then I wouldn't really complain about it. There wouldn't be much to complain about besides that. And another thing with it, if you're someone that was ever thinking about getting something like this, the Phantom '06, the sounds, why I call it a very strange synthesizer is because the sounds, when you go to like the choir sounds, they're really quiet. When you go to the bass and the synthesizer and the organ sounds, they're really loud. They're very, very loud. And then when you go to like the strings and the bells and the wind instruments, they're very low. They're very low in volume. And it's weird. But they're all at 100 level, but they're just a lot lower. So that shouldn't be either. It's like they messed up on the volumes of the instruments and the synthesizers and the choir sounds, and the drums are like medium. The drums are not too loud or too low. But when you go to like the synth pop sequencing sounds, they're low. When you go to the like pianos, they're really low, and you have to, they're not at the same level as if you go to a synth or a bass or an organ. They're really, really loud, and it's just, I don't know what it's like. They just threw a whole bunch of stuff together and just said, here, we're just going to put all this different stuff on here. And I mean, I can work with that, I can work around that, but when it comes to the saving and not having the delay and all that on the front, it's just, I don't think it's going to work for me. And it's really a shame because, yeah, they do have decent sounds. They have, when you put them together, it does come together. But I even seen on another channel where someone had it for a while and they put it to the side. It ain't even with their keyboards anymore. And I can see why it's not with their keyboards. I'm not saying that I haven't made some awesome stuff on this, because I have. I got some stuff on here that's crazy. I mean, it's really, really decent stuff. To me it is. But I said, I wonder why he put that to the side. He had it. And anyway, the channel is Bolo the producer. he was using that, and now he don't really use it at all, you know. And I said, well, that's why, because he was probably running into the same things as me. He probably seen the same stuff that I seen and said, well, this ain't working. These other ones are way more intuitive and easy, and the workflow is just better. And the thing is, see, if the MPC one had really good synthesizers and had good orchestral sounds and all that, if they had decent plugins, if their synth plugins were decent, then I would just go with this, and I would use a MIDI controller keyboard to control the keyboard sounds. I wouldn't even use anything else. But the thing is, though, it's software in hardware, so it doesn't sound like the hardware synthesizers. You see what I'm saying? It's a weird conundrum going on here. This one is so much better. The MPC is so much better with workflow and just putting it out than a synth, but then the synth sounds better than this, though. So what do? Do you have a better workflow, or do you have not as good as a workflow and use something that sounds better? See, this is where I'm torn between two worlds here. I want something that sounds decent and the workflow is decent. But I haven't, the only thing that comes close to that is the MPC one, but the sounds just do not do it for me. Like the bells and the strings and stuff, they're just not there for me. Like when I hear it, I can tell that it's software. I know that it's software. When I hear hardware stuff, I know that it's hardware most of the time because I have an ear for it, because I've been doing this for 22 years. But anyway, it was just to get on here to say, Roland, I don't know what you were thinking when you did this. You dropped the ball. You call this like your flagship or one of your greatest things, and then the polyphony is another thing. The polyphony will go out very easy. I just don't understand how they can be getting rid of something for this much, and then it's lacking these things, and then a thing that is 3 times cheaper gets the job done more. It doesn't make sense. That should not be. So anyway, if anyone from Roland is listening to this, go back to saving the patterns. Go back to the patterns where we can press save pattern and save the pattern. And it saves everything. It saves the sound effects. It saves the drum kits. It saves the attack, decay, sustain, release. It saves everything. They did it on the Roland JDXI. Why didn't they do it on the Fantom 06? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. And see, if more people were communicating this to them, then they might do that again. But if there's nobody saying anything, then they're not going to do it. It's going to stay the same. Do you see what I'm saying? Because nobody's telling them. And if we're the one that are getting their products and nobody's saying it, then they're never going to change it. They're going to keep doing all these little extra things that there's no need to do. They should have just left it the original way. If they would have left it the original way and then gave us new sounds, sounds that are, more quality sounds and more sound effects, you see, all the other stuff is taken care of. The quantization, the 1/8, 1/16, 112, 124, 132, that's all taken care of. The sequencing, that's not going to make music. What makes music is the sounds, is the people feeling the sounds and the drum kits. That's what makes the music. You see, all these other little things are just people complaining about nothing. I don't care about all that. That's already taken care of. But I don't know. It's just me talking about it and letting anyone know. I doubt there is a way to, when you save the scene, you're only saving what you did with the sound, how you recorded the sound in. But when you save the scene and you go to another pattern or another, what, I don't know, I can't think of the way to say this, but you go to another thing. If it's 87, you go to 88. If you save the scene and you messed with the filters and the resonance, and you did something with the drums, you made the drum, the filter lower or something, if you don't save those on a tone, then it'll be erased. It'll be, what you recorded will be there because you're saving the scene. Do you see how confusing this is? It's so confusing. It just doesn't even make sense why they would do this. Something happened to where their company, they didn't want to do something and they got lazy, or they said, oh, well, we should do this. And I don't know why they did that, though. See, someone who owns a piece of rolling gear, let me know, why did they do this? Why did they make a scene and a tone to where you have to save the tone of the scene? Why not just have pattern and save the whole pattern so that when you bring it up, everything is saved how you save it? It's stupid. It's so stupid. I just can't even wrap my mind around why they would do this. But do you understand what I mean here? You record it in and it's there. And I did this a couple of times. I changed the filter and all that, and I changed the drum kit. I put whatever I did with it, the attack or decay or something. Then I go to another thing and go back to it, and it's not the same. It's just what I recorded, but all the filters, the envelopes are all erased because I didn't save it to an initial spot, or a initial whatever else they call it, an empty something. But anyway, I'm done. I don't know. Just give me your thoughts if you do own something by Roland, and if there is some kind of way to go around that, but I doubt it because I've already watched many videos. I already looked into it for myself, and I can't find a way to save the thing without having to save the scene and the tone, which is just unbelievable why they would do this. It's just extra. They just made extra something for no reason at all. Why would they do that? Why would you make something harder than what it already is? You already had it the way that it was perfect to be. All the other gear that they have, it's all it is pattern, save, yes, and you're good. And you know it's going to be there. Why? Why? Why would they do this? I don't know. I'm out.